Hello, and welcome to Latrobe, where the Pittsburgh Steelers got their 2025 training camp practices underway on Thursday. Very hot out, barely any clouds in the sky. I can imagine having to had put on a helmet today. So with that, they arrived yesterday. Jalen Ramsey talked. Most of them arrived yesterday. Aaron Rodgers supposedly slept in his dorm on Tuesday night. DK Metcalf is his roommate. They talked about that earlier on. But Jalen Ramsey talks yesterday. A lot comes to that. Where's he going to end up? What's his role going to be? You can kind of check that out on the site there. Today was his first day in black and gold. Everyone loves seeing a new player in their new uniform. And a few months ago, that was Aaron Rodgers. He participated in mandatory minicamp. Didn't do any team stuff. Actually, kind of just sat and watched as he learned the playbook. Today was a lot different. Of course, he starts his first team session out throwing an interception, which we'll talk a bit about later. But with Aaron Rodgers being in town, Russell Wilson is in New York, gone with the Giants, spreading positivity in only the ways that he can, sometimes way too positive down the stretch, you could argue, last season. Rodgers brings a really pre-release. He can still throw the ball. Everyone knows about his off-platform throws. But that's not the only sort of change here. The Steelers' offense has seemed kind of allergic to throwing the middle of the field the past years, dating back to when Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett were spearheading the attack. Kind of hinted upon it when Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin made the trade for Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, who will now be a third tight end, along with Pat Freiermuth, a very reliable receiver, and Darnell Washington, huge human being. Those guys will all kind of share the load at tight end, be on the field at the same time at some points, maybe, probably. Before we get to Jonnu Smith's stats from last year and where I'm going with this, he did start practice on Thursday, ended up in street clothes. Mike Tomlin says that he is day-to-day. So that'll be something to watch out for as the next few days and few weeks go along. But Smith's 111 targets, 88 receptions, 884 receiving yards, and 8 touchdown catches were the most last year of any season in his career. Only Tyreek Hill had more yardage production for the Dolphins. And except for receiving yardage, Smith's numbers would have led last year's Steelers in basically every category. Even so, George Pickens only had 16 more receiving yards. It's basically a reception, you figure. Then they go out, they trade for DK Metcalf, trade George Pickens away. They sign Robert Woods, a veteran who knows his way around the league at this point. Of course, Calvin Austin third and Roman Wilson still remain. So with that, everyone is kind of wondering, are there enough touches to kind of go around? Balls, passes, and Pat Freiermuth earlier kind of had his say in that.
Yeah, that's the goal of our offense is to spread around, not be predictable, and I think we have the right quarterback to do that. We have the offensive line to protect them, and I think we have a lot of skilled players on the outside to make plays, and so that's why we're here in camp, is to figure out who can do what and what we're good at as offense, and we'll use that going forward into the postseason.
What are those nuances of your two games that you see as being different within your skill sets?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that he's a very explosive guy with the ball in his hands. I think I'm a good choice route runner, see the field in zones, and I think he's an explosive playmaker. So I think we can combine those together, especially when we're both on the field. It's going to be a hell of a combination.
So with what Pat said there, what is really interesting is that difference in skill set, obviously. But after that, there's really no number 2 wide receiver, no set number 2 wide receiver on this team right now. And those tight ends seem to be the guys that are going to pick up some of that workload, or a good part of that workload. But back to Aaron Rodgers' day, his first series, he does throw that interception to Patrick Queen, start right off. Right after that, the go route to DK Metcalf is underthrown, and everyone thought that maybe with DK Metcalf around and George Pickens in town before he was traded to Dallas, that maybe that was going to be this type of offense where the passing game is 2 deep ball receivers, and Mike Tomlin pushed back against that when he talked about DK at first, of course. But Rodgers' first completion today came over the middle to Scotty Miller. He slid, caught the ball, but it was kind of a welcome sign to see that this team is going to want to use more of the field than it has in past years, which you could argue kind of hurt the offense, made it more predictable. Rodgers had 2 other passes batted down by Cam Hayward and Derek Harmon that were likely headed the same way there in the middle. And along with Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and Will Howard all threw their fair share of passes in the middle. There, of course, were some out routes. There was a slip screen at one point and a lot of passes to the flat. But it seems very promising that this offense might start to be more well-rounded as we approach this upcoming season.